Uh, Hi guys. So let's do the last part of this section. I didn't want to make very long videos, so I just broke it up into three parts. So we were doing 11.3 parabolas. We are on page 715. I said I'll do the odd ones. You have to do the even ones for homework. So I'm doing problem 12 now. Okay, it says sketch a complete graph of the equation. It says half y square equals 2x. Okay, so the first thing I should observe is x is linear, y is quadratic. Okay, what has been ingrained in your head since math 2? Y equals x square. That was your standard up and down. This is the other way around, right? X is linear, y is quadratic, which means either it's left or it's right. Okay, let's put it in our desired form before we start. So, what did we do? X is here. To find our P, it has to be in this format. The linear has to be by itself and the quadratic has to be on the other side and it has to be 1 y square. Over, if I send the 2 here, it's going to be division by 2 and here also, right? Because division by 2 means what? What did I do here? I multiplied by half, right? If I multiply by half, I multiply by half. So I end with y square over 4. So this is my desired form. My x should be 1x, my y square should be 1 over whatever I'm going to check. So I know the equation of a parabola is x equals y square over 4p. See, what's the purpose? I want to find p because the positive p gives me the focus, the negative p gives me the directrix. So my goal is to find the p and I can find the p only when it is in this format. Because what is p? The x has to be 1, the y square has to be 1 and division by 4 times something, that will give me my p. So I will write this x equals y square over 4p. I have it as x equals y square over just a 4. Right? Which means 4p equals 4, which means p equals 1. P can be positive or it can be negative. So p is equal to 1. So now focus is just a point. Now this point, what did we say is going to be the shape? It's x equals y square. So either it's left or it's right. Now the p, it's 4y square, x equals y square over 4. Both of them are positive, right? X equals something. This is positive here. So when it's positive, which one is it going to be? It's going to be opening to the right. So I know my equation looks, my graph looks like this, right? Because we are going to do graphs with vertices at the origin only. So it's opening this way. My focus is going to be on what? On the x-axis. Since it's the x-axis, the y is 0. Okay, so all you need to know for the focus is the x 0 or the y 0. In this case, it's symmetrical around the x-axis. So my x-axis, so my y is 0. And the focus is always going to be p. You are not going to say the focus, p can be positive or negative. But the focus is just positive p. Okay, so either if it's left or right, it's going to be p0. If it's up or down, then it is 0p. But the bottom line is the focus is always p. So in this case, what is p? We said p is 1. So 1, 0. So this point is 1. And what is the directrix? The directrix, again we need to know, is it x equals something or y equals something? So the directrix is going to be here, right? So this is going to be a vertical line, which means it's a vertical line. So it's going to be x equals something. Or you can keep it in your heads like this. Since it's x equals y square, the directrix is the linear term, right? It's an equation, right? Equation of a line is x equals or y equals is the equation of a line. So this is x. So the equation is going to be x equals something. That's just one more way for you to remember. whoever is the linear term, that will be the directrix. In this case, it's x, so it's going to be x equals, which means it's a vertical line. Now, what do I know about the directrix? It's always x equals negative p. So now my equation is x equals negative. What is p? P is just a positive 1. So negative positive, I get this. So I got my focus is 1, 0 and my directrix is this line. It's vertical. So it's x equals negative 1. As expected, if the focus is positive, the directrix is negative. If the directrix is positive, the focus will be negative. Make sense? So this is number 12. Okay, let me just make sure you can see it. Okay. Okay, let's do 14 now. 14, 4y equals x square. Okay, let me just make sure we got 12 correct. Yeah, okay. 14, 4y equals x square. Remember, what is my desired form? This y should be by itself. This is also okay. This is also not wrong. But I get my p easily. I can find my p easily if it is in this form. Right? Y should be 1. X should be 1. They should be on opposite sides. They should be equal. And x square divided by something. This is my desired form. So how will I convert this to look like this? I want the y. I don't want it with 4. Right? I want it with 1. So I divide this by 4. I'll get y equals. I'll divide this by 4. Okay? So I get y equals x square over 4. So in this case, what is it? 4p equals, because this is 1, 1, 1, 1, everything is same, which means 4p should equal 4. So p equals what? 1. So now this is y is linear, x is quadratic. So I know it's either up or down. Right? Now this is positive here, right? 4 is just positive. The denominator is positive, which means I know it is opening up. So since it's opening up, the vertex is always here. Okay? I know the focus is here and my directrix is here. What's the equation of the focus? The focus is on the y-axis, which means my x is 0 and this is just p. What is the directrix? You can remember it like this. Who is the linear term? Y. So directrix is y equals something. Which lines have y equals? All horizontal lines. Always check also. Okay, don't just blindly do this. Y equals, it's a horizontal line. So I got a horizontal line. And it's always going to be negative p. So focus is 0 and my p is 1. Directrix is y equals negative 1. So this is 0, 1 and this line is y equals negative 1. This is how you graph it. Okay. You know what? I'm looking at this and I see that 11 is a little different. Let me do 11 for you. Please remember, before you start, before you watch the video, look at the problem I'm going to start, pause the video, try to do it by yourself and then go back to the video and check if you got it right. Don't just keep on, don't just look at my problems and just copy it down. Otherwise, you won't understand anything. Okay, try to do it by yourselves. Let your brain struggle first. So let's look at 11. 11, it says x equals negative 6y square. So just looking at this, what are the things I observe? X is linear, y is quadratic. Which means, is it up, down or left, right? X is linear, right? So I know it is left or right. What does this negative 6y square tell me? it means it's negative, right? My p is going to be negative. So it's not going to be the right, it's going to be the left. Now what is the problem here? What is my desired form? My desired form is x equals y square over 4p. And why do I need the p? I need the p to find the focus and the directrix, right? And to find the p, I have to put it in this format. Now what's the problem here? X has to be 1, y has to be 1. My x is 1 here, but my y is negative 6. How can I convert this to look like this? Okay, so which means to get my negative 6y square, I want it somehow that it's only y square on the top. Okay, so I want it, this is not equal because 6y square is not equal to y square. This is a wrong sign. I cannot put equal. I want to convert my 6y square to get a y square. So what did I do to the negative 6y square? This is actually over 1, right? In the numerator, I don't want a negative 6, so I divide by negative 6. Which means I have to divide the denominator also by negative 6. Remember, this is not an equation. If it's an equation, what I do to one side, I do to the other side. This is just an expression. I want to convert it. Because if I do that here, what's the problem? I will divide this by negative 6, but then I'll divide this also by negative 6. Is this in the desired form? In the desired form, the linear term is by itself 1. And it's the quadratic term which is in the numerator and you have 4p in the denominator. If I do this, I will get x over negative 6 equals y square. I got y square by itself, but the problem is my x is no longer by itself, right? It has a denominator. I don't want that, and so I'm not going to follow that path. What I need to do here is just with my 6y square, how can I have a y square with a coefficient of 1 on the top? So I'm just looking at 6y square, which is actually 6y square over 1. So to get rid of the negative 6 in the numerator, I divided it, which means I divide. Because what is the effect? Numerator, if I divide by negative 6, and the denominator also I divide by negative 6. Okay, what's negative 6 over negative 6? It is a 1. And if I divide a fraction by 1, am I changing anything? Did I do something wrong? No, right? I kept it equivalent. So I'm allowed to do this. So coming back to our original problem, what did we do? We did this by negative 6 and 1 by negative 6. So what did I get? I got 1 square over 1 over negative 6. Make sense? So I'm going to write this negative 6y square as y square over negative 1 over 6. Okay, check if I did anything wrong. Numerator divided by denominator. Okay. What is y square? Numerator divided by denominator. Copy, dot, flip. I got negative 6y square. Right? Because what did I get? 6y square over negative 1, which is the same as negative 6y square. See, I didn't do anything wrong. Make sense? How to flip this? So this is y square over negative 1 over 6. And now I have my problem in the desired form, which is x equals y square over negative 1 over 6. Make sure you don't make both these lines the same length. One of them is dominant. This is the main fraction, right? In a composite fraction, one has to be dominant. This is your main fraction and this is your little one. So x equals y square over this is the same as y square over 4p, which means negative 1 over 6 is equal to 4p. How do I get the p by itself? Multiply by 1/4. Multiply by 1/4. So I got P equals negative 1 over 24. That was my goal, right? What are they asking me to do here? 11. Sketch a complete graph. So they are saying P is equal to negative 1/4. So what had I decided? It's going to be a graph. Since the y square is quadratic, it's going to be symmetrical on the x-axis, right? Left or right. And since it's a negative, it's going to be a left. The origin is always going to be, the vertex is always going to be at the origin. So my P is negative 1/24. What do I need the P for? I need the P to find the focus. The focus is going to be on the x-axis, which means the y is going to be 0 and the x coordinate is just P. Okay, so this is one more way actually you can remember. X is linear, right? So your x will be P and your directrix also will be x equals something. So I just realized this while showing it to you. So x equals whatever is your P, the equation is x equals quadratic, right? So whoever is your linear term, that will be your P. P, and of course the other coordinate is 0. If it is y equals x square over something 4p, then how will you remember this? Linear is y, right? So your focus will be what? P will be your y and x will be 0. Your directrix will be what? Y equals negative P. In this case, it is x, so it's x equals negative P. So what's the focus? I found the P, it's negative 1/24 0. And what's the equation? X equals negative of P, but P is negative 1/24, right? So negative of negative, I get x equals positive 1/24 and my focus is negative 1/24 0. Let me just check. 11. Yes, 0 1/24 is the focus and this is the equation. Good. So what is the point? The focus is here at where's my focus? Negative 1/24. It's a point. X is negative 1/24, y is 0 and my directrix is a line. It is vertical. So the equation is x equals 1/24. It's on the right side of the y-axis, so it's positive. Good. Let me check. Okay. So we did 11 and I think I did 12 as well as 14. So let's look at 16. They gave us the equation. They are asking us to find the focus and the directrix. Okay. So I'm doing problem 16. 16 is x equals half y square. To find the focus and the directrix, I need to find my P, and to find my P, I need to put it in this format. X equals y square over 4p. So we just did it before this. I want to know this is what? This is y square over 2, right? So it's in the same, x is 1, y square is 1, I have over 4p, which means 4p is 2, which means p is what? 2 over 4, so p is half. So what's the focus? Let's see if we can do it without imagining the graph. We said x is linear, right? So my x will be the p, the y will just be 0. My directrix will be x is linear, so it's just x equals negative p. Remember, focus I know is p. The question is it p0 or is it 0p? So x is going to be your p, and this x, the directrix is always negative p. The question is it x equals or y equals? But take your linear. So x equals negative half. Always check and make sure what you did makes sense. So this is y square over 4p. My focus is half 0. Right? So focus is here. This is x equals negative half. So it's a vertical line with x equals negative half, which means my parabola should be like this. Does that make sense? Yes, all sideways parabolas have x linear and y square quadratic. And it is positive. The quadratic is positive. So yes, it is facing the right. So this was 16. 18, x equals negative 6y square. Remember, what's the problem? I want a 1x. What's my format? X equals y square over 4p, which means I don't want the negative 6 here. I want a 1 here. So how can I write the negative 6? I can write this. By now you should know this. Negative 6 means I'm dividing the y square. The negative stays the same. Negative doesn't change. 6, I divided the top by 6, which means actually I'm dividing the bottom, which was 1, also by 6. This is my big one. Always check and make sure you did it right. This is as good as y square divided by negative 1/6, which means copy dot flip. You got negative 6y square. Okay, negative 6y square. So now this is equal to what? Y square over 4p equals y square over negative 1/6, which means 4p is equal to negative 1/6. I want to get the p by itself, so divide by 4, send the 4 here, multiplication becomes division, and I get p is negative 1/24. Right? So I want to find the focus. The focus is either 0p or p0. Which one is it going to be? X, right? X is my linear term. So that is going to be my p. P is just negative 1/24, 0. What's my directrix? My directrix is either x equals something or y equals something. What is it going to be? X is linear. So it's going to be x equals negative p. So x equals negative of negative 1/24. I get x equals positive 1/24. Right? Let me see if this makes sense. My focus, I said, is negative 1/24. So it's here. The vertex is always here, right? So it has to be this one. The directrix is x equals, which means it's a vertical line. It's positive, which means it's on this side. Does that make sense? Yes, x is linear, y is quadratic. So it's facing left or right. But this happens to be negative, which means it's opening left. Okay. Let's do problem 20. So 20, they find the equation of the parabola with vertex at the origin passing through the two given points. 3 over 2 and 3. Oh, this is negative and this is positive. Okay, so if you graph this, where is this going to be? X is 3, x is 3, y is negative 3 over 2. So this is one point. The other point is 3, x is 3 and y is 3 over 2. So it's this point. Now what parabola can pass through these points, these 2 points? Can it be up? Can it be left? Can it be down? It has to be a right one because the origin is also here, right? So these 3 points means your parabola has to be this parabola. What do I know about the parabola? What are they asking? Find the equation of the parabola. Okay, so what do I know about this equation? It's facing left or right, which means x is linear, y is quadratic. Okay, y square over 4p. To find the equation, I need a p, right? So did they give me p? They didn't give me the p. But they gave me the points, right? This point is 3 over 2. And this is my point 3, negative 3 over 2. Point is always x and y. Now y is, I'm going to square the y, right? So whether I square this or whether I square this, it doesn't make a difference. So I can take either of the 2 points. I'll take this 3, y is 3 over 2 whole square over 4p. I'm just solving this. So multiply by 4p, multiply by 4p, I will get 12p equals 3 over 2, the whole square is 9 over 4. So I want to find what is p. So I'll just take the 12 there. Oh, I shouldn't have done this, right? I'm doing it the long way. Anyway, I divide by 12. So I divide by 12. Right? So I get p equals 3 and 4. P I got as 1 over 16. Let me just check. No, p is not 1 over 16. Let me do it again. So this is, I made a mistake. I made a silly mistake somewhere. Okay, let me just do it again. 3 equals this. So let me just do cross multiplication, right? This is 3 over 1. 3 times 4p is 12p equals 3 over 2 square is what? 9 over 4. So let me keep the p here. This is 9 over 4. I'm sending the 12 there. So what did I do? Oh, it was correct the first time. 3 times 3 and 4. Correct. P is 3 over 16. Okay, this is what my P is. What are they asking me to do? Find the equation. So I plug it back in my equation. Where is my equation? X equals y square over 4p. P is 3 over 16. So 1 times 4, 4 times 4. So I get x equals y square over, now be careful, this is a composite fraction. So I got 3 over 4. This is my big one, right? So it means it's x square equals what? Y square divided by 3/4, right? Which means copy dot flip. I get 4y square over 3. So either you get this answer, x equals 4y square over 3, or you can write it with your y square on one side. Y square, and I send the 4 over 3 here, it becomes 3 over 4x. Check which format they want because you will be doing Math Excel. So make sure you are doing it correctly in the format they want. Sometimes they might want this or they might want this. I'm not sure what your Math Excel will want. You will know after you do a few problems. Okay, 20. Let's do 22. '22 is similar. Okay, -2, -5. They gave you 2 points. 2, -5. Okay, so where are these 2 points? -2, -5. So this is 1 point. 2 and -5. So this is another point. Right? This point is what? -2, -5, and this point is 2, -5. and I have a vertex here, which means my parabola has to be downward facing. It's downward facing, so I know it's y equals x square over 4p, right? I want to know what the p is. So I'm going to plug in, I don't know the p, but I know the x and y, right? This is xy and this is xy. Now my x is squared, so whether I take -2 or whether I take 2, it's the same thing. So if I plug in this equation, let me plug in this equation. Either equation I plug in, it's going to be the same. So I'll plug this equation. Y is -5 square equals, no, not square. Y is -5 equals x is 2 square over 4p. I want to find the p, right? So cross multiply. -5 times 4p equals 1 times 4. P is going to be what? Divide by -20 on both sides. I get p equals -1 over 5. This is 22. Let me just make sure. P equals -1 over 5. Right? And I want to find the equation they are saying. What's the equation? The equation is, see, my equation can have only x and y as the variables. It cannot have any other variable. And so I need to solve for p and have a number there. Okay, because the only variables allowed in an equation are y and x. So 4 times -1/5. So this is y equals x square over -4 over 5. Right? 4 times -1 is -4 and this is just 5. 4 is over 1, right? 5. Which means it's which means it's numerator divided by denominator. Which means it's copy dot flip. Which gives me y equals, what did I get? Don't forget the negative. -5x square over 4. So this is also correct, this form, or you can write it in this form, y equals -5x square over 4, or I can get the x square by itself, multiply both sides by 4 over 5. So 4 will come here and 5, and this is the negative. Or this. They're all equivalent. So you have to know the form which they are asking you. Okay. So I think this is good. We will not do the application problems. Okay. So please make sure you are doing your homework. When you are looking at the videos, have your textbook with you and solve the problems as you go. And do the odd problems for homework. I'll put it on Schoology also. Okay. Bye. And you guys take care.